mention Newt Gingrich, too. He was the former Speaker of the House. And good morning to you, Mr. Gingrich. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So Donald Trump, he's a maniac. He's only taken 2 days off this entire month. And what is this, the 17th of August? He's back on the campaign trail today. What do you make of the changes within his campaign?
Well, first of all, I think Trump genuinely enjoys campaigning. And so I think he's doing something that he gains energy from. This sort of is his hobby. He doesn't really need to take a vacation when he's doing something that he feels so deeply about. I thought he had added 2 tremendous talents. Steve Bannon has been remarkable as the head of Breitbart, but also in other things he's done with his career. He's been a movie editor and director. He has been a businessman.
He's never run a campaign, though.
Yeah. No, but look, the guy who got Ronald Reagan elected as his campaign chairman had never run a campaign either. He had been part of the secret operation against the Nazis in World War II, and he'd been a lawyer. He had never run a campaign. Common sense, aggressiveness. What Bannon has done is he has understood how social media works. Right. He's understood political issues. He is a very aggressive, tough guy. He'll be a big asset. And then Kellyanne Conway probably knows as much about the American voter and about how to communicate effectively with the American voter as anybody in politics. So I see them as adding to Paul Manafort and what Paul's already done, which has been tremendous. Paul was the key to getting through the convention with all the different moving parts working. Yeah. It was a great achievement. But running for president is a huge job, and you need a lot of talent. And these are 2 very smart people that Trump has brought in.
So he's got to pick up ground. I think even Donald Trump would admit that and said so much to you, even though he's up in Indiana. Most of the battleground states, he's trailing by between 3 and 15 points. So what was Paul Manafort not doing that this guy will do?
Well, first of all, right after the Republican convention, Donald Trump was ahead. The Democrats then had a very successful convention. Trump got involved in a couple of mistakes he shouldn't have. And Hillary has spent about $110 million in advertising to his 0. Right. So in mid-August, it looks, like he's got to fight. And he will fight. But, I'm recommending to all of my friends that they read a book called Whistle Stop about the Truman campaign in 1948. Truman was so far behind in September that one of the leading polling organizations said they had quit polling. The race was over. Truman was going to lose. It was inevitable. I just remind people, you saw on Monday a historic speech about terrorism and the failure of the national establishment in both parties. You saw on Tuesday a remarkable speech in which Donald Trump said, here's how bad the inner city is, and here's what the Democrats did to make it bad, and he appealed directly to the African-American community. These are things you have not seen Republicans do before. Both of those were effective. They were both historic. I think you're going to see more of things like that, and I think, frankly, he's going to end up beating Hillary by a surprising margin.
Okay, and it's only the middle of August right now.
And Ronald Reagan wasn't winning until October.
Yeah, the past prologue. Stay tuned. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about this. Yesterday on a radio show out in Los Angeles, Newt, Dr. Drew Pinsky, who we all know from television, he was called in because there are all these stories that you see online about Hillary's health and the precariousness of it. He was called in to debunk the claims that she's having health problems, and instead he dropped a bunch of bombshells. He's very worried about the care she's received and the problems she might have. Listen to this, and then we want to get your observations about it. Here's Dr. Drew.
Both of us concluded that if we were providing the care that she was receiving, we'd be ashamed to show up in the doctor's lounge. We'd be laughed out. She's receiving sort of 1950 level sort of care by our evaluation. She had 2 episodes of what's called deep venous thrombosis. Common problem, blood clots in the leg. She also has hypothyroidism. And she's being treated for hypothyroidism with something called Armour thyroid, which is very unconventional and something that we used to use back in the 60s. And both he and I went, that's weird. Then she falls, hits her head, and as a complication of that has something called a transverse sinus thrombosis. This is an exceedingly rare clot. I've only seen 1 of these in my career. It just seems like she's getting care from somebody that she met in Arkansas when she was a kid. And you got to wonder. You've got to wonder. It's not so much that her health is a grave concern It's that the care she's getting could make it a concern.
Okay, so Newt, what do you think?
Well, I think first of all, just to get down to a human level for a second, all of us ought to include Hillary Clinton in our prayers. I mean, we don't. You can be opposed to somebody without hoping that they have bad health, and I hope that she's all right. Second, I'm always dubious, with all due respect to television doctors, when you have a doctor who has never seen the patient begin to give you a complicated, fancy-sounding analysis based on what? I mean, I would be very cautious,
right,
and I would recommend to doctors for professional reasons to be very cautious deciding you're going to start analyzing people. Next because next you're going to get a left-wing psychiatrist explaining Donald Trump in negative terms
based
on
having
having watched him. You know, and I think we ought to recognize that's kind of junk medicine. That's not the real deal.
Well, apparently he and another doctor had looked at some of the information that was available on her website, and you're absolutely right. Did not take an examination of the patient.
Why do you think that you can't log onto their website and see that clip anymore?
Yeah, they took
we
it
tried
down.
to do that, and it says it appears that the page you're looking for does not exist.
Right.
Oops.
Hey,
Because if you look, if and this is true for Trump and Clinton, if you've got a page that is causing you trouble, why would you keep it up? I mean, you know, at least give them some credit for competence that they went, well, that was a boo-boo.
Hey, Newt,
probably shouldn't have put that up.
Real quick about other Republicans, I see that Mike Pence is going to be campaigning in Florida with Senator Marco Rubio. You saw Governor Scott Walker in the audience in Wisconsin. What can you tell us, looking forward, since you're so close to the Trump campaign, what Republicans are doing or not doing to support Donald Trump at this 11th hour?
Look, I think, well, first of all, as you pointed out earlier, it's about the 9th hour. But anyway, I think people are coming back together. People are beginning to realize, for example,
like
if
who?
you're in the, well, I think you said when Scott Walker shows up, that's a pretty big deal, and it says a lot in Wisconsin. I think you're going to have other members campaigning with him, and I think you're going to find, as he gives more speeches like he did on Monday and Tuesday, you're going to see a lot more Republicans decide they're very comfortable rallying around him.
All right. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good with you.
All right.